I will show you how true spiritual strength does not reside in noise, but in the depth of a being who has learned to be silent. We are drowning in external noise, and the cost of not facing what arises in the silence is the total loss of meaning and inner peace. With years of experience leading groups and workshops on art and self-knowledge, I have learned that the soul only reveals its treasures when we stop agitating the surface. You might think that being calm means being fragile, but today you will discover that gentleness is the most impenetrable armor there is. Stay with me, because at the end, we will have a practice of presence so you can move between the chaos and your inner sanctuary this very day. Spirituality often begins where words end. There is a hidden pain, an existential fear that makes us flee from the void, because when the noise ceases, we are forced to face what we truly are. Many people seek personal development through performance, but end up drowning in calm waters by underestimating the immensity of their own being. This fear of the still mirror is born from the perception that, in the silence, there is nowhere to run from our own shadows. The mind accustomed to chaos interprets stillness as a threat to its constructed identity, when, in fact, it is the only state where the light of consciousness can pierce the surface and illuminate the innermost layers of the soul. And to understand how this light pierces the surface without breaking it, we need to recover an ancient wisdom that makes flexibility its greatest virtue. It is here that Lao Tzu's thought invites us to observe the element that best defines life: water. Lao Tzu teaches us in the Tao Te Ching that nothing in the world is more flexible and soft than water, yet for attacking what is hard and strong, nothing surpasses it. Only the serene spirit reflects the truth. In the turbulence of the mind, the image of life is distorted. There is a crucial difference between superficial softness and the simplicity that demands internal mastery. It is the concept of Wu Wei, effortless action, flowing with the natural rhythm of the soul instead of fighting the current. This means understanding that the water does not fight the rock. It flows around it until, with time, the rock gives way. This non-forcing is not passivity, but an absolute harmony with the rhythm of the universe, where you stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable and start using the very current of life in your favor, transforming obstacles into paths. But this individual flow of non-forcing does not happen in a vacuum. It gains roots and weight when we dive into the deep waters of our ancestry. If from the east we learn to flow, in African wisdom we learn that this river never runs alone. It carries with it the strength of all those who came before. Seeking the roots of African philosophy, we find the strength of ancestry and Ubuntu. I am because we are. True strength does not need noise to command respect. It manifests in ethical presence and the capacity to absorb what threatens the integrity of the being. Like the deep waters of an ancient river, spiritual maturity teaches us to welcome the other without being swallowed, establishing silent boundaries that protect our peace without the need for shouting. In the African worldview, silence is the soil where ancestry speaks. It is where the individual I recognizes itself as part of an eternal flow. Having this depth means you become an ocean. You can receive the polluted rivers of others' conflicts and, through your own vastness and saline nature, neutralize the toxicity without allowing it to alter your sacred essence. However, keeping this essence intact before the world requires more than understanding. It requires an internal structure, an architecture of protection that the ancient Stoics called a citadel. If water welcomes, the mind must learn to discern what should be filtered. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, remind us that the happiness of our life depends on the quality of our thoughts. Relational intelligence lies in not measuring another's immensity by our own surface ruler. Often, the spiritualized ego uses silence to flee from conflict, but true practical wisdom lies in having the depth necessary to dissolve it. Softness holds the intense, and this intensity is what sustains your resilience on stormy days. For the Stoic, calm water is the mind that distinguishes what depends on us from what is external. When you understand that the noise of others only affects you if it finds resonance in your own chaos, you begin to cultivate an inner citadel. It is the recognition that softness holds the intense, and this intensity is what sustains your resilience when the world around you seems to fall apart. This resilience protects us from the external world, but what happens when we turn our gaze inward? When the inner citadel silences the battles outside, what remains is the mystery of the vessel, that space where the psychology of the soul reveals to us that the void is not a lack, but the possibility of being everything. Exploring the layers that a fast-paced routine prevents us from accessing, we realize that hasty judgment is merely a defense of the ego against the vast and the unknown. Like a vessel that is only useful because of its empty space, our consciousness needs spaces of silence to be filled by the truth. The transparency of water is not an absence of content, but the revelation of the hidden mystery where your authentic self resides. In the psychology of the soul, this fertile void is the womb of all transformations. It is not a vacuum of nothingness, but a plenitude of potentialities. When we stop projecting our desires and fears onto reality, the noise, we allow the soul to whisper what is essential. It is in this state of transparency that the invisible becomes visible, and what was confusion transforms into intuitive insight. It may seem that this dive pulls us away from reality, but true spiritual mastery is not about living at the bottom of the lake, but knowing how to emerge without losing clarity. Absolute awakening happens at the meeting of these two waters, the chaos of daily life and the sanctuary you just discovered within yourself. The awakening of consciousness requires the integration between the strength of the turbulent waters of the everyday and the wisdom of the calm waters of the spirit. The real danger, or the real cure, resides in that which you have not yet seen because you were distracted by the surface. Recognizing that you are not broken, but in transformation, allows you to move between external chaos and the sanctuary of inner silence with authority and lightness. This integration means you do not need to isolate yourself in a cave to find peace. You become the cave itself in the midst of the crowd. Lucid action is born from this balance. You act in the world with the necessary force, the intense, but your starting point is always silence. It is learning that silence teaches about self-defense and spiritual resilience far more than any mental strategy. Now that the banks of your understanding have expanded, I invite you to let these ideas stop being thoughts and become an experience. Let us, together, anchor this stillness in body and spirit now. For a moment, imagine that your emotions are like the surface of a lake. If there is agitation, do not try to fight the waves. Simply feel the weight of your body and imagine yourself diving to the bottom, where the pressure is constant and the silence is absolute. Down there, the noise of the world does not reach. Become the mirror that reflects everything, without retaining anything. If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you are looking for a safe harbor, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Peace and light.